One of the great things about living in the 21st century is the perception, some may say the illusion, of being in control of our lives. We have choices from a very young age. What to wear, what friends to play with, what subjects to study in school. And when we grow up, we often choose our mates and decide when to marry. And nowadays we can also choose when to bring children forth into the world. And when we do, we believe that we want them to have even more choices than we had. And we believe that our actions can change their lives. So I'd like to take you with me, not far from here, to where a young woman is giving birth right now in one of the fantastic medical centers around the city. And the young woman, now basically pushing the baby out, believes that she will survive this day, both she and the infant. A fact that only 100 years ago was far from taken for granted. And she believes and knows that this young infant, now let's imagine her already holding him or her, this young infant will grow up to be an octogenarian, up to 80 years old, and will enjoy literacy, healthcare, access to technology, all the benefits the modern world can give it. So there she is, this young mother, knowing that she is responsible for bringing up the happiest, smartest, most clever, most adept child the world has ever seen. I can see you smiling. You're thinking about your own child? We all do. So there she is, the mother. She knows that in a few moments she'll be showered with flowers and gifts. She knows she'll be getting the most modern ergonomic stroller, developmental toys for the child to play with, and stacks of baby Mozart CDs so that the baby can be the most intelligent baby ever. But the fact is that we know that this baby will not develop any faster than his great-grandmother did 100 years ago. No amount of developmental toys, no amount of intricate strollers and special music will make a baby reach for a toy earlier than 3 months of age, walk, talk, or be out of diapers significantly earlier. And every child, whether born in Jerusalem or Madagascar, will be talking, walking, waiting to learn how to read by age 6, providing they're healthy. Oh, the children born today are going to be much healthier than our great-grandmothers did, thanks to good medicine, to vaccines, the good nutrition that they get, and to the fresh air and clean water, all these things that the lucky children born in this part of the world enjoy. But their development is built into their hardware. It's very difficult to change the hardware. From the moment a baby is born, he starts on a voyage of discovery, from scratch, as far as that baby is concerned. Every singular sensation, smell, touch, sound, they all register in the infant's developing brain, combining into synapses, creating pathways, making the databases of the experiences that we all know, and when we grow up, will shape the view of our world and the choices that we make. This journey of discovery is unique for every child, but it's predicted by the hardware that we all share. Now, we know a lot about development from experiments made in the late 60s and early 70s. We might not like to repeat those experiments today, but we did learn a lot about them. One experiment involved taking newborn kittens, just born, and leaving them in a dark room for the first 5 months of their lives. No light at all. When taken out of this dark chamber at age 5 months of age, the kittens were essentially blind. No matter what you do with them, they could not use their eyesight at all. That is because at a critical period of their development, a window of opportunity that had to be used to stimulate the brain to develop was never used. These kittens, these poor little creatures, just remained blind. It's even more subtle than that. When they took these baby kittens and they put goggles on them with stripes on them, black stripes, and left them there for 5 months so that those kittens could only see through those slits, when they took off the goggles at 5 months of age, all these kittens could see were vertical stripes. If you tried to have them see something horizontal, they just couldn't understand it. The brain couldn't decipher it because the stimulus to the specific cells in the brain that deal with that kind of perception just never developed. Well, we took those experiments. Of course, we made the logical, you know, what do you do with this experiment? You look at it and say, oh, what should I do? Maybe I shouldn't put goggles on my newborn baby. Maybe I shouldn't leave baby in the dark for 5 months. No, we did something else. We developed amazing developmental toys so that we can make sure that every single baby sees both horizontal, vertical stripes, red and black, and everything that happened in those experiments. And we use them, we're dedicated to using these developmental toys to this day, as if predating this experiment, anybody has ever met a baby who couldn't see vertical or horizontal stripes. But that's the way we do things, because we turn everything into a product. And then we buy those products believing that that will make us better parents. Now let's go back to that woman that just gave birth 5 minutes ago. If she plays that poor little baby Mozart night and day, she's missing the point, because our developing brain needs to be stimulated by all kinds of different sensations and sounds. Street noise, and talking voices, and crying, etc. We have to register the differences between different sensations so that it'll make sense to us. Anybody who's ever lived next to a highway knows that after a few days you just don't hear it anymore. So why do that to poor Mozart? We'd better play a little bit of Mozart, a little bit of Tchaikovsky, and maybe a little bit of Madonna also. Well, there's another interesting thing that I'd like to tell you. If you take babies and leave them in institutions for all kinds of reasons for the first few weeks or months of their lives, these babies just don't cry. Now, are they happier babies? More content? Unlikely, right? Well, the reason they don't cry is the reason that other kids do cry. When a newborn baby cries, the mother, hopefully the father also, will rush to the crib, pick baby up, and try to find out what's wrong. Is it hungry? Maybe we should change the diaper. Why don't you hold him, burp him? My grandmother told me that if we rub something on his stomach, this will go away. We try to find out what's wrong. And the baby, being adaptable, pliable, and at a stage of development that he learns from everything, knows that by crying, you get results. Somebody will come to you when you cry out. So the next time your baby cries in the middle of the night, and I know there are a lot of young people here who might not yet have babies, but just remember that. That cry is a cry of trust. Crying means, I know there's somebody out there that will be helpful. Children who don't have anybody to trust just won't cry. Let's go back to the mother that gave birth now 6.5, 7 minutes ago. There she is lying in her bed, holding that infant in her arms, thinking about the developmental toys and how he'll grow up to be the best professor in evolution psychology the world has ever seen. But imagine what happens if something goes wrong despite everything, despite the medicine that we have, despite all the atmosphere that we have now. Still, not all babies are born perfect. Now, until a while ago, and unfortunately in many parts of the world still today, a baby that's born too early or sick or malformed will just not survive. But not this baby, not our lucky little one who was born in the medical facility not far from here. Because we have the know-how, we know what to do when babies have problems. And please allow me to inflict on this virtual baby a problem that isn't uncommon. It happens in 1 every 3,000 to 5,000 kids. Our little baby was born with a problem in the tube connecting his mouth and his stomach. It's called esophageal atresia, and it happens for various reasons, but it means that if the baby, the first time the baby will try to eat, which is the next thing babies do after crying, right? Mother will put him to her breast and it'll try to eat, it'll choke. And until a few decades ago, all these babies, these 1 in 3,000 babies, just died. But not nowadays. Nowadays, we know what to do with it. We can fix it. We can have surgery, and the surgery will fix it, and baby will be fine. But sometimes we can't perform the surgery right away. Sometimes baby has to be bigger and weigh more, so that surgeons will be certain that he won't be harmed during the operation. But what can you do? I mean, the baby can't eat, right? There's nothing connecting his mouth and his abdomen. We have a wonderful medical solution. It isn't rare, it isn't complicated. We take a tube, we insert it through the baby's abdomen. We call it a gastrostomy. We can feed baby with the gastrostomy. It really isn't that scary. There's little baby. He's got this little tube inserted into his abdomen. Cute baby, very happy. Only thing is, instead of eating through the mouth, he's going to be fed through this tube into his stomach. Well, let's imagine the developmental process that this family and this baby goes through now. Okay, very different. Instead of being held in his mother's arms, cooed and loved and showered with gifts, he's going to spend time in a hospital, prodded and squeezed blood from and undergoing operation. It's a completely different story, right? Kid will be damaged for life. No. Because children survive very harsh problems. As long as later on they'll be given enough love and encouragement and be held and cooed, they'll survive this. This baby will survive and be fine. It won't have any mental side effects to having undergone this whole problem as a young kid. So we're going to leave him for 3-4 months. The baby will grow. Every 5 hours he'll cry because he's hungry, or 4 hours or 3 hours, and the mother or father will come and feed him through that gastrostomy tube, and baby will be happy and grow and play with the amazing developmental toys that his mother brought him. And finally, the day arrives, and surgery is performed, and the mouth is connected to the stomach, and everything's fine. Now baby can eat. Can you imagine the whole family all ready with a spoon to finally feed baby? Well, what a shock when baby doesn't want to eat. Spits in the mother's face. So what happened? Did the baby forget how to eat? I mean, he knew what to do when he was born. You know, that first hour before he even realized that he's a very lucky child to be born in the 21st century. He was put to the mother's breast and he was trying to eat while he choked that first day. Did baby forget how to eat? Well, what happened is that a 4-month-old baby is very different neurologically from a newborn. A newborn is ruled by reflexes. He has no choices. His body moves in ways that reflect patterns built into the baby's hardware. Everybody knows that babies jump and do this when you pick them up, and they also will move their head and find the tit, and they'll suck and swallow automatically. They have no control over it. You can give a baby your finger, and he'll suck on it, and you can basically lift the baby up with your finger. It's so strong, the suck. It's amazing. But for baby to learn to control his body, for him to try and move around the world and make sense of it, he has to lose those reflexes. That's why they're called primitive reflexes. They should be lost. And by the time they're lost by 3 or 4 months of age, baby should have learned that the horrible feeling that we call hunger is relieved by eating, which means I have to use my tongue, my mouth, my cheeks, swallow the sweet milk, and feel it filling my stomach, and I'll be happy, and I'll be full. But our young baby, fed through the gastrostomy tube every 4 hours, knows that when he cries, mother comes, she does something, the hunger goes away. But he has no way of connecting feeding through the mouth with hunger going away. Moreover, by the time he's 4 months old, he's changed. He's learned new things. He's adapted. The brain, as we said, is pliable. There's a lot of plasticity. His mouth that was all ready to taste new things when he was a newborn didn't get any stimulation. And you remember what happened to those poor little kittens? They just couldn't see anything. Well, it's not as excessive, but the mouth also is not ready to feel anything because it hasn't been used to feel any taste. And that's why baby won't eat. Now, we can solve this problem because we have the know-how, because we're in the 21st century. We're very good at this. But teaching kids to do something that they should have known by now because of early deprivation, because at a critical period, the window of opportunity for development just didn't materialize, we call it pediatric rehabilitation. And that's what we do. We take this kid and a whole team of a doctor, a nurse, a speech therapist, a dietitian, a psychologist, and with the family, they'll all work together to teach this baby how to eat, and they will succeed because babies are at a stage when they learn something new every day. So leave that child for some reason, 3 years with the gastrostomy tube, and there's no way he's ever going to learn how to eat. Because by that time, that window of opportunity is not only shut, it's obliterated, it's finished, it doesn't exist anymore. And the same is true about a lot of other things. You all know, and I know there are a lot of people who immigrated and Alyn to Israel, etc., that learned a new language. You know how easy it is to learn a new language when you're young? That time when you don't get the accent of your mother tongue. And then as you grow older, it's around 10 or 12 years, when you acquire a new language, there's no way you can lose the accent. Okay? And it gets more and more difficult as you grow. There's a window of opportunity for learning a new language. The same is true for walking. If you don't teach a child to walk by a certain age, the window of opportunity will be closed. So I know this amazing young girl, blue eyes, red-headed, spirit to match, and she was born with this problem, and she has her feet and her hands twisted into impossible angles. For her to learn how to walk, she needs her feet to be operated on. She needs to be able to stand and start walking. She's now 2.5 years old, and her parents postponed the surgery again and again for all kinds of various reasons. They believe they're doing what's best for the child. But the developmental team who's treating this child is very worried about that narrowing window of opportunity, because that child, who could be completely well, might end up living her life in a wheelchair unnecessarily. But we can have other problems with modern medicine. For instance, I know this child who's got a bunch of problems. He's blind, he's deaf, and he's mentally handicapped. Now, for all these problems, we can only cure his hearing. That's what we can treat, because we have a device called a cochlear implant that bypasses the ear, connects to the brain, and you can learn how to hear with it. So the doctors went ahead and wanted to implant this cochlear device for this kid. And I was questioning that. I said, how could you do that to this kid who's so mentally handicapped? How is he going to learn what to do with the device later on? And the answer was, but that's all we can do for him. Well, I put it to you that this is not enough. It's not enough to do what we can do. We have to think and plan about what we're going to do with the intervention. It's not enough to fix the child's feet. She has to learn how to walk. It's not enough to fix the child's eating. He has to learn how to eat. And the same with hearing. Now, doctors and families all have to come together to plan treatments for these children, or else all this wonderful medicine will result in nothing. It will not come to be a functional change in the child's life. Where I work at Alyn Hospital in Jerusalem, we have a lot of kids come in that suffered from early deprivation because of different reasons. They all get specialized treatment. That access to treatment is the key to being able to make choices later on in life, to being able to decide your future. And society as a whole has to realize that all these therapies, they're not some kind of a nice-to-have thing and a developmental toy to hang around the baby's crib. The baby who's healthy will be able to see the world even without those developmental toys, as long as you expose them to the world around them. For the babies who are deprived from being exposed to the world in a very young age, they're the ones who need to be invested in. They're the ones that must have those therapies to bridge the gaps. If we do that, we can make sure that the babies that we fix today will be free citizens of the world, able to make the choices of their own. Thank you.